We're always on the clock, tracking our time, measuring our worth in minutes recorded on our timesheet. And we feel like we always need more time in the day, don't we? We're expected to bill a certain number of hours, and sometimes we don't have enough work to complete that. And we're figuring out how we can bill that time. Or sometimes we worked real hard and finished our work, and we wrote down 3 hours in our timesheet, but we worked 10 hours. We realize that all that matters, we feel all that matters to our firm is how many hours we build, that they don't really care about our success, our fulfillment, our happiness. We're just a timekeeper for them, a moneymaker. And billable hour requirements can cause so many stresses.
Welcome to the Free Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Miles. The Free Lawyer Podcast is designed for the lawyer, entrepreneur, or professional who is in some way unfulfilled, stressed, or stuck, and is looking for something better. We will discuss various blocks that limit us from achieving the personal freedom that we all desire, but have not yet fully experienced. And we will give actionable steps to free yourself from them. Are you looking to achieve a new level of success? If so, this podcast is for you.
Happy Monday, everybody. I appreciate your being here. And this week we have a really crucial episode. Actually, it's a two-part episode, this Monday and next Monday. I'm going to be talking about the topic of stress. Because if there's one thing I've learned is that so many of us feel overwhelmed by the stress we're under. It affects us in so many ways, our health, our happiness, and our lack of freedom. And I call this podcast The Free Lawyer because it's my mission, my passion to help you enjoy practicing law and have a sense of personal freedom about what you do, that you're not trapped, you're not stuck, you're in this miserable job you don't want to be in. My goal is to help you find freedom as a lawyer, to love what you do, to own your practice rather than your practice owning you. So this is going to be a two-part series today because there's just too much material to talk about to cover it all in one episode. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of stress. I'm going to talk about the primary causes of it and how it affects us. And next week, I'm going to dive deep into 4 key tools to manage your stress. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of homework at the end of today's session for you to do for next week. And then next week, I'm going to give you the 4 tools that will help you to overcome stress in your practice so you can really enjoy what you do. So I want to begin today with this quote from Andrew Bernstein. The truth is that stress doesn't come from your boss, your kids, your spouse, traffic jams, health challenges, or other circumstances. It comes from your thoughts about your circumstances. And I'm going to show you mostly next week how true that is, that it's your thoughts about your circumstances that causes your stress. And that when you change those thoughts, you can really lessen and maybe even remove that stress. So let me ask you a couple questions. Do you ever feel stressed at work? Do you often feel overwhelmed by pressure from all sides? And do you struggle to figure out how to manage it best so you can really find fulfillment in your profession as a lawyer? We work in a very fast-paced and demanding world, don't we? And stress, it's a constant companion for all of us. From high-pressure deadlines to challenging cases, it can take a toll on our mental and emotional well-being. We face so many high-pressure situations and demanding workloads that can lead to stress and burnout. Let me ask you, have you ever felt under stress? And if not, do you know of any person in your firm or any colleague who feels stressed and is burned out and feels like quitting? It's not unusual. It's not unusual. We work so many hours in such a competitive environment, handling emotionally challenging cases, and that stress can really have significant adverse impacts on our mental and physical health our job performance, and our quality of life. But I want you to know that stress is not an inevitable part of the job. It's a challenge that can be managed and it can be overcome. And you can manage that stress and be happy and healthy. And in today's episode, I'm going to identify the primary causes of our stress and discuss how it affects us. And next Monday, I'm going to come back and explore 4 practical strategies in detail for stress management, which will help you find peace and balance in this demanding profession. So this episode is going to be a little bit shorter than some of mine, but I still want you to listen, and I also want you to do a little homework. Because what I would like you to do between now and next week is think about what areas of your practice cause you stress. What is it that stresses you? And even journal each day this week. When you feel stressed, what is it that causes it? Because next week we're going to talk about ways to overcome that. So what are the primary causes of our stress? We face pressures from so many different directions. But what are the most important stresses we face? I'm going to list 9 of them. And these are probably just some of them. You might have suffered stress in some other way. The first is the billable hour requirements. We're always on the clock, tracking our time, measuring our worth in minutes recorded on our timesheet. And we feel like we always need more time in the day, don't we? We're expected to bill a certain number of hours, and sometimes we don't have enough work to complete that. And we're figuring out how we can bill that time. Or sometimes we worked real hard and finished our work, and we wrote down 3 hours in our timesheet, but we worked 10 hours. We realize that all that matters, we feel all that matters to our firm is how many hours we build, that they don't really care about our success, our fulfillment, our happiness. It's just, we're just a timekeeper for them, a moneymaker. And billable hour requirements can cause so many stresses. 2, financial concerns. I was a partner in a small firm, then I owned and managed my own firm. And in that capacity, we're constantly working on bringing in more work to make enough profits and income to pay the bills and get some cash in our pocket. In larger firms, you have to generate fees to justify your fair share of the revenues. As younger attorneys, you feel compelled to build a book of business to make partner or to build leverage. And wherever you are, you're always thinking about, I got to get more clients. I got to bring in more billable hours. I have to bring in more fees. And it creates a lot of stress. We went to law school to be lawyers, and then we're 4 years into practice, and we're told we need to bring in a book of business. Or you're a partner and you realize you're competing against other partners in your firm to bill more hours and bring in more clients so you can have a fair share of the profits. It's tough. It's really tough. It creates a lot of stress. But more than that, I don't know if you've had this experience. It always seems that there's just not enough money to go around. After taxes and withholdings and expenses, our net paycheck, while it seemed like we are paid a whole lot of money, it's not enough to go around. So financial pressures can really create stress. 3, client pressures. Clients have such high expectations. They expect a completely favorable result, and they expect it right away. And if we don't deliver it, then they feel that we might have done something wrong. They can be very demanding. It's very challenging to satisfy them. And they often place unreasonable demands on both our deadlines and our outcomes. They want things answered right away, and they want a successful result. And it seems to me in the years I've been practicing, the clients have gotten more and more demanding. 4, heavy workload. We have to manage multiple matters simultaneously, and that creates so much additional pressure. We have so many things to do. When we finish one, 2 more land on our desk. 5, other attorneys. Sadly, one of the worst stresses we face is the conduct of other attorneys. They often engage in unnecessary personal attacks. They may not return calls. They may send a letter that's completely contradictory with the agreement we had on the phone. They're much more interested in fighting than solving problems. They like to argue rather than seek solutions to our respective clients, and it can be very stressful. And I've had cases with lawyers who are very cooperative, and while they have a position they're advocating, they're happy to try to come to a resolution, to find a solution that works for both of our clients. But sadly, some others, they're just interested in fighting. 6, the pressure of failure. I did litigation for 45 years. And when you try a case, there are winners and there are losers. And in family law, sometimes judges, more often than not, will reach a resolution somewhere in the middle. But in jury cases, I never once had a verdict that came in between the middle of the final offer and the final demand. There was a winner and there was a loser. And that creates a lot of pressure. I'm blessed to have won more than I lost, but that pressure each time when the jury's out and you're waiting for them to come in, or you're waiting to get the ruling in the mail from the judge, creates a whole lot of pressure. We want to win. We're very competitive. But even the best attorney trying a great case will not infrequently lose, and that can create real emotional pressures. 7, high stakes cases. Our cases often have high financial and emotional stakes for our clients, and that's a pressure we carry while we advocate for them. And I know when I was handling a custody case, that was incredible pressure, because I really wanted the resolution that worked for my client, because I knew my client was a good parent. But often the judge was not seeing things as I did. There was the other side was putting forth evidence, we were putting forth evidence, and I believed our evidence. But there was so much at stake for our clients. 8, competition within our firm. It would be nice if we worked in firms where we're all linked arms and we worked together and we shared a common mission and we rowed in the same direction. But sometimes in some firms, there's internal competition to do better than the other associates or partners. If you're an associate, to show your worth to the firm by billing more than the other associates in yours, so they'll make you partner instead of them. Or as a partner, to bill more hours and bring in more clients to show your worth to the firm, so that when they have the compensation meeting, you will get a bigger share of the pie than you might otherwise. And rather than a sense of teamwork, our firm can have stressful and challenging conflicts. Our profession is highly competitive, and even inside our firm, we're sometimes competing against each other for advancement in our firm, for new clients, and for a bigger level of compensation. And 9, demands of our partners. Often, no matter what we do, we're expected to do more. The partner gives us more work and seems so often to be unhappy with their work. And when we do a great job, we don't get much in the way of affirmation for that. Is that a fair summary of what we all encounter? No, of course not. But all of us have experienced at least some of those stresses from time to time. And I know I've experienced almost every one of them, whether it's billable hour requirements or financial concerns or pressures from clients, heavy workload, conflicts with other attorneys, the pressure of losing our case, high stakes of our cases, competition within our firm, and demands of our partners. So many of those cause us stress. And I'd like you to think about, is there something else in your work life that causes you stress? And if so, journal it. We'll talk about next week about how to manage that stress. How does the stress affect us? Why is stress such a big problem for we lawyers? It has so many adverse effects on us, beginning with our mental health. The stress is a leading cause of mental health issues: anxiety, depression, substance abuse. Chronic stress can lead to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. And certainly we're at a higher risk of developing substance abuse problems or other harmful coping mechanisms. Addiction is sadly an all too common problem in our profession. And many of you know I'm sober in recovery, and it scares me sometimes how many lawyers struggle with substances. And the study of the ABA some years back showed about 30% of lawyers had substance abuse problems, and about the same number struggle with clinical depression. And almost 12% of the lawyers who answered the survey said they had suicidal thoughts in the prior year. That's scary stuff. And that comes from our stress. It can interfere with our relationships at home. We work so hard, we come home and we're not in the best frame of mind to be a great spouse and a great parent. Our health in so many ways, and our happiness. When we're under such stress, we're not enjoying life. And I think it's so important in life to enjoy the journey. But even more significant is we lose the enjoyment and fulfillment of the profession we've loved for so long. Stress can affect our abilities to think clearly, our decision-making, our memory, our concentration, which are critical for our job performance. It can affect our motivation. We lose interest in our job. It affects our creativity and our problem-solving abilities. The stress will make us a less effective lawyer. We can get burned out, physically and emotionally exhausted at work. We're less productive and no longer professionally satisfied. Our work performance suffers. We can't concentrate, we become indecisive, and we cannot effectively manage our caseload. Our judgment may be impaired. It's pretty striking when you see a lawyer who's really under stress to see he's just not managing it all very well. And so many of those lawyers are under stress, leave the profession, decide to do something else, or have some physical or health problem. It's really pretty sad. And so I'd like you to think this week, how does the stress you feel affect you? How do you know when you're under stress? What are the manifestations of it? Do you feel your breath coming more quickly? Do you feel your heart racing? Do you feel sweaty? Do you feel shaky? Do you get a headache? How does stress affect you? And next week, we're going to talk about 4 major tools to manage our stress. We're going to dive into each of them individually because it's too much material to talk about there to have it all one episode. So today we covered the causes of the stress and how it affects us. And next week, we'll talk about the tools. So this week, take some time, reflect on the stress you feel, reflect on how it affects you and how you know when it's coming. And if you ever would like to set up a call with me to talk about the stress and how to manage, I'm happy to do that. I'll put a link in the show notes where you can schedule a courtesy call with me where we can chat. So thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate you very much. As always, please be well, be safe, and be free.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Free Lawyer Podcast. Wherever you are listening, if you enjoyed what I shared, please leave me a rating and review. I would appreciate hearing more about what you like best and what topics you might like me to cover in future episodes. If you are interested in experiencing a more fulfilling and a more successful life, please contact me at www.garymiles.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me so I can learn more about you, your challenges, and your dreams. I appreciate each and every one of you and have a great rest of your day. Thanks to all of you for your support.